But it's often the illusion that guides us right. You'll never see how many auditions the 33-year-old actor went through before he was cast in a major film. You don't see the countless hours and shows in midnight gigs in front of 3 people that the rock star endured. You just don't. It's not celebrated. We celebrate what we see, and what I've learned is that the most important things, they're just not visible to the naked eye. And it's funny, it's like people, they're ashamed or embarrassed by the fact that they're climbing to the top of their own hill to something truly significant to them, because the person next to them is bragging about blindly leaping 3 steps right. And that's great, progress is great, but unless it's taking you to where you want to be most, is it a win? I have many friends that have left 6-figure or higher jobs to podcast or create or start their own businesses, and people's first reaction is always like, wow, look what you had, look what you're walking away from. Scarcity. We are naturally inclined to see life through a lens of scarcity. You need to remember that that's what we do. We establish and protect our well-being. That's why I've worked so hard to transform my thinking over the years to look out and think, who cares what I had, look what's out there. There are no limitations to what can be yours. If you're not on top of the world, make it happen. And I understand people are complex situations, they're not easy. They're intricate, everyone's different, everything is different, but there's a principle that's consistent. That you can always improve your situation, that will never be false. To some degree you can improve your situation, there's always opportunity, it's just what you see. A friend of mine sent me a text yesterday saying the past and the future, they're just imagination. All you have is now. Everything other than split second is the story you're deciding to tell yourself. That's it. Think about that. We're operating off what we decide is real or imaginary, possible or impossible. We're living in a world that is our own. There's no them or they or crowd, just individual people all telling themselves some variation of a story. And so taking this back to the point, caving into that pressure, accommodating to the now so that we feel important, so that our self-worth sees that temporary spike. It neglects the opportunity. It makes us feel like we're stepping forward, that we're progressing, but in reality are we? Thank you. Know that voice, that pressure to conform to what will impress Richard next door. I will always lead to, it will always be to our detriment, and it takes truly what I believe is the most pure, important aspect of life and sticks it in the closet so that we can feel like we're on par with everyone else. And I'll never forget starting out, and I bring this up a lot because it was one of those moments where I knew, I recognized that a huge shift was happening in my life. Went out with some friends from college, right, and one's working for a senator, one's at Goldman, one's a lawyer, and I'm thinking, well, geez, I just quit my job, but I had this really cool idea for a YouTube channel, and I don't think any girls are going to be swooning over that. And I struggled right at the time. It was difficult for me, and I look back and I'm just thankful every day that at the time I was able to locate somewhere in my soul the courage to stick that out, to believe that if I executed on this dream I could have an impact, because like I mentioned above, it was painful in the moment, but when you think big picture, bigger things happen, right? I'm doing things now that I never ever would have been able to do if I didn't have that desire to do the unconventional thing, if I stopped at sort of the discomfort, or if I stopped when I felt like I was losing this imaginary race to those people around me. I wouldn't have the creative flexibility that I have now. I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. I wouldn't have the people in my life that I have now. You have to earn that every single day, and it makes me wonder how many people stopped when they could have taken their own path, brought their own unique vision into existence, if they didn't retreat when they felt like they were a lone wolf, when it felt like they were losing a race that didn't exist, when they felt like their neighbors were getting ahead, or their classmates or their friends were doing the conventional things, so they were too scared to step backwards. And I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you that step backwards, that ability to temporarily find yourself, to create yourself, that will mean everything, that will open doors for you that would never have existed. You never would have come across them because you would have been too scared to look for them. You have to make opportunities. Simple metaphor, gumball machine. Gumball does not come out if you don't put the quarter in and turn it. It's a price that has to be paid, except in reality the price is a lot higher than a quarter, because we're conditioned to want to fit in. We're terrified to look like we don't know what we're doing. Every significant thing around you stemmed from someone pushing into that unknown. It came from someone risking everything. It's not easy when your family doesn't know what you're doing, your friends don't know what you're doing, or you don't know what you're doing. But if you want to have an impact, that is the road you have to take. That's the costs you need, the price that you need to pay. It'll be a hard year or 2 years. Or 3 years, but you won't regret it. So hopefully this can be a reminder to you when I talk about lateral steps. That's the sentiment I'm trying to recreate, and I think that's the great thing because it means the people who create, who build something meaningful, they've earned it. And that's what I tell myself every day: earn that dream, earn that change, right? Take that road less travel. What you're doing right now is not insignificant. Simply because it's not immediately bearing fruit. I think if you listen to this back from the top, you'll notice the constant theme: immediate, now, present. These things are delusion, right? As far as results are concerned, the word immediately is a con artist. Action should be immediate, but results, no, they are gradual, they require persistence. Stick with it. Remind yourself to look up because that's what you're after. It's a pursuit, you're building a foundation, you're creating the things that permanently alter the artistic and political and social landscapes. That's remarkable. It's the road few have the patience to walk. Remind yourself why you're skipping the small stuff, brushing off the little wins and losses, why building something substantial in silence is more powerful than gloating and screaming at the top of your lungs after every visible step. Look up. Remind yourself that you are going to change the world and you can see it. Music. Mark Twain said the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The first gets you into the show and the second asks, what will you do with your time here? What will you make of this sunrise? Because we only get so many. I think there's immense value in understanding that each and every one of us are here to leave this place better than we found, to stand up when we could be sitting down, step out and make something of the chaotic and often hard to understand world around us. When you realize the miracle that is your existence, when you understand the almost impossible odds of you being here, thinking, feeling, breathing in the air around you, you begin to see the value of today. Because it's not an obligation, it's a currency, the most precious of commodities. Today is your time to step into that new version of yourself, to see something more so that you can begin the process of creating something more. Because the truth is, life will always be what you decide it is. If you walk up to your window, look through the blinds and decide what you see is the finale, the final script, that's exactly what it will be. But if you see right now as a beautiful beginning, the initiation of the ride of a lifetime, a transport to the next version of you, and the next, then you are signing up for a world without limits. A world where you can feel what it's like to be tested and endure, to be lost but find your way, to build something meaningful out of this seemingly meaningless. That's why you're here. That's what it means to truly live. Today is your day, your chance. Don't let it slip away from you. Don't be fooled into thinking it's less than it really is. It is your ticket to infinity, a journey that starts when you decide it does, when you look out at that vast unknown and say, I'm not going to settle for anything less than a life of adventure. I want the challenges, the turbulence, the losses and the battles. They will bring me to a place I could never have arrived at otherwise. Get from life what you give, so give it all. Leave no path, unwalk no stone unturned. Today is the most important day of your life because it will connect the you of yesterday to the limitless view of every day that comes next. The road to this moment wasn't an easy one. There were times where you thought you knew, simply didn't. Music. There were plans made that drastically differed from the ones fate had cared. Music. There were days that made you question yourself, your beliefs, that made you ask, what is my purpose? Look, to live is to have felt these things, asked these questions, to have seen firsthand the discrepancy between what we draw up and how life unfolds. And I think about this discrepancy often. The swings and misses, they hurt.